Hey everybody, and welcome back to FSI DFS. I'm McKinley412. Today we're looking at this 8-game main slate on DraftKings. It is a pretty unexciting slate, in my opinion. Pitching is going to be very difficult. You got like the top stud pitchers going up against very difficult matchups. There's just not much to like on the lower end of the pitching side. And then of the 8 games, 5 of them, we do have some rain possibility in that many. So it's pretty gross, all things considered. Tampa Bay at Detroit, that is the biggest rain threat. I think that's the one that we're really going to have to be focusing on. I really do think that when all is said and done, all 8 games get played, and maybe you see like one delay in Tampa Bay and Detroit. But I think that's pretty much it. It's just kind of being super cautious with the rain and everything. I just realized that I erased a Verlander on here somehow. But yeah, so we'll go through the pitchers, we'll go through the bats. But before we begin, NFL Hall of Fame game, preseason. It starts tonight. Super exciting to have NFL back. NFL is starting up. College football is starting up. The EPL, the English Premier League for soccer, and a bunch of different soccer leagues are starting up here shortly as well. So here at FSI, we do have a promo going on. The promo is football is back. All capital letters. That's going to be your promo code when you sign up. And when you do that, you get 14% off any month-long purchase. So it could be a month-long of NFL. It could be a VIP month-long subscription that you do. Link is down in the description below to join our Discord. The link to sign up for the promo is on our website. That's also going to be down in the description below. So please go check that out. Come join us. We'd love to have you. We do offer pretty much everything. VIP gets you all the sports provided. So we're talking NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB. There's esports talked about there. There's soccer's a big one for FSI here. I'm blanking on a whole bunch of more, but we provide it all. So please come check us out. And again, it is 14% off any month-long subscription. And the promo code is football is back. All capital letters. Football is back. So let's get diving into this slate here. I kind of already hinted at it's pretty ugly, all things considered. But yeah, so Verlander up at the top, 10.4K. He's got a decent-ish tough matchup. It's Cleveland. They got Jose Ramirez. They got some great bats in there. Naylor as well. Lefty righty. So, but I mean, it's still Verlander. Somehow he just is not aging. He returned from Tommy John surgery like perfectly fine. It's pretty incredible what he's been able to do. 10.4K is a little bit steep, but considering I think there's just not much to like. Lineup construction wise, you almost want like the safety. But still, I think Verlander is probably going to be your SP1. If you want to go somewhere else, okay. It's just not a lot to like, but I think Verlander, at least for cash, is going to be your SP1. Kyle Wright, Manoah, and Carrasco. I have them ranked Carrasco second behind Verlander, and then Manoah, and then Wright. I put Manoah below Carrasco. Manoah, we all saw the video, the comebacker that just went off of his elbow. I don't know. They say he's cleared to go. I trust the team doctors, obviously, but man, taking a line drive off the elbow and then pitching the way that these guys pitch just a couple of days later just does not seem like he's going to be fully 100%, which is kind of why I have him just ranked a little bit below Carrasco. Carrasco, a tough matchup. It's going to be a common theme here for these top pitchers. Carrasco, tough matchup going up against Atlanta. However, Atlanta does strike out quite a bit. They are a high strikeout team, which is kind of why I'm leaning towards Carrasco as my second favorite pitcher at this top salary tier. He's not my second favorite pitcher overall, but at this top tier, probably Carrasco, just because he has those, really strong games, those high ceiling games. He had 31 DK points his last start out, 25, 26, 32. I mean, he has had some solid starts so far this season. So if he can get those strikeouts against Atlanta, I think he's probably going to be my second favorite in this top tier. And also because, he's 9.1K. Kyle Wright, I have him all the way at the bottom. Going up against the Mets, nearly 10K. I think if you're going to be going this high up, just go to Verlander, who's, a better pitcher. He's in a better matchup, probably a safer floor, all things considered. So I would say just go up to Verlander, but Wright maybe could be a GPP play for you. But going up against the Mets, they have the second lowest strikeout rate against right-handed pitching. They have like the second or third best offensive numbers in terms of WRC plus, which takes like every offensive metric and just jams it all together. So they're fantastic against right-handed pitching. They don't strike out against right-handed pitching. Kyle Wright is 9.9K. It's really tough to get excited about him at all. Going into the mid-tier, Syndergaard, he leads the way. It would not shock me if he's like a super chalky SP2 here, just to kind of open up some salary, just to kind of get you up to Justin Verlander. 7.6K going up against Washington. I know I've said that Washington doesn't strike out a whole lot, and they don't. I mean, they're one of the lower strikeout teams against right-handed pitching. I actually think they're right below the Mets, is like the number 3 lowest strikeout team. But trade deadline happened. Syndergaard's obviously on the Phillies now. But trade deadline happened. Washington, they lost Soto, they lost Bell. I mean, they lost to like their best 2 bats. So you take those guys out of an already poorish offense, and Washington just becomes that much worse. So Syndergaard at 7.6K, I think he's probably going to be a pretty chalky SP2. He'd probably be my top option, especially in cash games and especially in this mid tier. Below him, I have Pivetta at 8.2K going up against KC. This is more the matchup than anything. He's had some really bad struggles over the past month or so. I mean, he's proven so far this season that he does have it. You can kind of see on the screen here, you know, numerous games where he's only had 0 or 1 earned run. He's in the 20s. He's in the 30s for DK points fantasy wise. But again, this past month has been brutal for him. But he's had some tough matchups. He faced the Yankees twice. He faced Milwaukee, and we know what they can do. Tampa Bay, they're not the Tampa Bay that they have been in years past, but I mean, it's still a pretty decent offense. And then he did well against Cleveland. So now he's got, you know, KC, much worse than all those teams offensively. If he can get back into form, we've seen his salary drop from, it was up to 10K not too long ago, and now it's down to 8.2. So I think, you know, the value possibly is there for Pivetta, especially in that matchup. Below Syndergaard, below Pivetta, I got Cueto and Gray just kind of rounding things out. Am I super excited about either of them? Absolutely not. Gray, he's more like boomer bust. I talk about Carrasco being a boomer bust guy. This is like Carrasco 2.0 here. 20 DK points, 27, -4, -3, 9, 23, 6, 15. I went through and I found that in 9 of his past 10 starts, Sonny Gray has either finished below 13 DK points or above 23. So there is no middle ground for this guy whatsoever. It's boomer bust, and he's got a brutal matchup going against Toronto. So it would not shock me if he's more of a bust. So I have him down here. You could even put him into like the no interest category. As far as cheap plays, I don't know if Drew Smiley is going to be going. MLB website currently says TBD on that Chicago Game 2 starter. So we'll see about that there. But even so, I'm not going to have too much interest in him. The only 2 guys I have interest in are Springs and Quintana. Quintana's had back-to-back fantastic starts with no earned runs allowed. 24 and 17 DK points. He's shown that he can, you know, be a pretty decent pitcher. I know I was really, you know, against him early on in the season, given like all his historic metrics, but you know, he's held it together so far this season. I do have to give him props. He's got a nice matchup going against the Cubs. And then Springs for Tampa Bay. This is mainly, you know, you're chasing his strikeouts. He's got one of the better strikeout rates among the pitchers on the slate. Going up against Detroit. But again, it's not super exciting. I am not really interested in it. So I think Verlander, Syndergaard is probably just going to be your ultra chalk 2 starting pitchers. And then after that, it's all pretty gross. Plesac, he's got a low strikeout rate. So I'm not interested in him going up against Houston. And then Espino, high fly ball pitcher. The wind is blowing out. He's going up against this Philly offense. Espino is probably my least favorite pitcher on the entire slate. Maybe against, you know, tied with Reagan's. He's like a top Texas pitching prospect. But he is a lefty in his MLB debut going up against the White Sox. And we all know how much we love the White Sox against left-handed pitching. So Philly and the White Sox are like my favorite 2 plays. Both of them I think they're my top 2 plays, but they could also just be like, but they also struggle so many times. They've let me down so many times that I kind of also wanted to put them in the GPP category, which is kind of why you see this here. So that's kind of where I ranked all the bats. Leverage stack, we'll just start over here. Atlanta, I could see Carrasco being a little bit popular just because, he's one of the cheaper options up top. And, Atlanta does strike out a lot, but it's still Atlanta. They can certainly put runs up on the board. So I do have them over here. And then Minnesota going up against Manoah. Maybe Manoah and that elbow it's still not 100% correct, and something can happen there. So I do have Minnesota there. And then Cleveland and Washington rounding things out. I don't really have too much interest in either of them. But Verlander and Syndergaard, they're going to be popular, so they just kind of finish things out there. Cheap category, Detroit. I think Detroit's a really interesting team. Like I said, Springs, we're mainly targeting him for that strikeout upside. Excuse me. But Detroit is very cheap, all things considered. Let me pull up the Detroit bats here. Detroit, a very cheap team. They can certainly get to Springs. They have some nice righty bats. And look at this. They only have one guy priced above 4K. They only have 3 guys priced above 3.2 and only 4 guys priced above 2.6. You can pretty much fit anybody that you want in here. Again, this is a rain game that we have to be monitoring. But if you want to go with really a Detroit stack, I got no complaints from me. Texas, Chicago Cubs, and the KC rounding out the cheap tier. Not super interested in either of these 3 teams. If you do want to find some one-offs in there, they're definitely in there. But as for me, I'm not going to have too much exposure to any of these 3 teams. So let's go back to the top. Chicago White Sox and Philly. Philadelphia, they got some real cheap guys, especially Castellanos at 3.2K. Just seems a little bit too cheap. We all know the power that is in there. But I mean, if you could go with Schwarber, Hoskins, I feel like these are like the big 3 that you could be going up against. If you want to go Hall, sure, totally fine. Real Muto, 4.7K, absolutely. So, but let's kind of stick with these 3 to start off, and then we'll throw in a Chicago White Sox stack going up against Reagan's left-handed pitching. We know that we love the righties going up against left-handed pitching. But I mean, really just you can throw in anybody. I mean, anybody for the White Sox is going to be a fantastic play. I don't even know where we want to go. I'm just going to start clicking some guys to fill in some of the spots here. So here we go, and then we'll throw in Verlander and see how much salary we have remaining, just to kind of see. 4.7, maybe throw in Syndergaard. I'm not going to give a whole lineup here. 3.3K. So yeah, so you could easily get a Philadelphia Chicago White Sox stack in there, absolutely. And it'd probably be a pretty popular play. Possibly initial look is probably where I'm going to be heading, is having like a Chicago White Sox Philadelphia combo and then a Verlander Syndergaard starting pitching. But if you want to go elsewhere, totally fine with that. But I think I think Verlander Syndergaard is going to be popular, and then Chicago White Sox Philadelphia, in my opinion, are going to be 2 great teams to target. Toronto, they're kind of right there. Toronto, just with their amazing offensive talent. Going up against Sonny Gray, I already mentioned Sonny Gray. He is a boom or an absolute bust kind of pitcher. Toronto against right-handed pitching, they are top dogs, believe it or not, in terms of a lot of different categories. WRC plus, all that. I will say they do get a little bit lucky with the BABIP. They are number 1. They have highest BABIP against right-handed pitching in the entire league. So they have had the luck on their side for sure. But still, they're the number 1 team offensively, especially against right-handed pitching so far this season. So, and they're super affordable. Like Teoscar Hernandez is only 4.6K. Their catchers are super cheap. Even Kirk is 4.4K. I don't mind playing him at all. Not super cheap. They're cheap. But yeah, you can certainly go with a nice Toronto stack. Vlad Guerrero obviously is going to be in there day-to-day on Springer, Bo Bichette. It's your big dogs. But similarly priced to the Chicago Bats, the White Sox, and Philadelphia. So you can kind of see, you can kind of fit them in. So maybe you get a mix of those 3 teams and go along with the Verlander and Syndergaard and whatnot. Tampa Bay has, I think, the highest implied run total on the entire slate, believe it or not. They're going up against Hutchinson, who had a nice start out recently, which, kind of stung because I think we were high going up against him. But still, he's got that Detroit bullpen behind him. Again, it is a rain game, so pay attention to that. But Tampa Bay's got the highest implied run total. I just don't have a lot of interest in their teams. And then St. Louis, I don't know who they're playing against for the Cubs, starting pitching wise. GPP, I already talked about White Sox and Philadelphia. Houston, I think is certainly interesting going up against Plesac. Houston, they just Plesac, he just does not strike out a whole lot of guys. But it's your usual guys going up against righties. It's going to be Alvarez, Bregman, and Tucker. Those are your three best numbers wise against right-handed pitching. But like Altuve, he's no slouch against righties. Same with Pena and Diaz and Gurriel. If you want to go there, he bats kind of in the heart of the order. 3.3K on this offense, kind of in the heart of the order. It's tough to say too much against him at that point. Boston, GPP only. I mean, they got a nice matchup here, but again, it's Boston. They've just really been struggling offensively. So tough to get super excited about them. And then New York Mets going up against Kyle Wright. Kyle Wright's a fantastic pitcher. But again, the Mets, they're like the top 2 or top 3 team in terms of offensive generated against right-handed pitching, but also the lowest strikeout rate. So maybe they can get some luck with the BABIP. And yeah. So that kind of rounds things out. I mean, it's an ugly slate. Again, there's nobody in the pitching wise that like I'm super excited about. Verlander, I mean, he's probably the safest play, 10.4K. And then Syndergaard, am I super excited about it? No, but I think given the salary and given going up against Washington without Soto, without Bell, at 7.6K, I think he's just kind of the guy that you turn to down here. Everybody else is just kind of And then same with the bats, Philadelphia White Sox. I mean, they're probably my favorite too. But yeah, so I mean, that kind of rounds things up. That's the slate for today. Thanks for watching. As always, hopefully we can guide you in the right direction. Good luck in your contest, as always, and we will see you tomorrow in the next video.